Hi, my name is Emily Eros and I'm with the American Red Cross GIS team. Thank you so much for volunteering your time today to help with the Missing Maps project. Missing Maps is a collaboration founded by the American Red Cross, the British Red Cross, MSF, and the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team. We found that many of the areas around the world where we work don't appear on the new maps, and we need better open data to help us with our international programs and our disaster response activities. With that in mind, the goal for Missing Maps is to put 200 million vulnerable people on the map over the next 5 years, creating data in OpenStreetMap that's available for anybody to use and edit. We do this in 3 steps. First, volunteers like yourselves trace satellite imagery in order to add buildings and roads to the map, creating a detailed base map that we can use for navigation and planning. Next, we often do field work to add detail to the base map. We work with local Red Cross volunteers and community members to determine their priorities for local mapping. Then, we train volunteers on how to use mobile phones and other technology in order to add more detailed information to the map. This includes features like schools, health facilities, water points, and other critical infrastructure. Finally, we analyze the data, produce maps, and work with teams on the ground to help them integrate the data into their programming so that this has a meaningful impact on the area. We're currently focusing on mapping areas where the American Red Cross will be part of a measles and rubella vaccination campaign in the next year. Although it's been eradicated from the Americas, measles is still a major problem for some areas of the world. It's highly contagious, and where it's present, it's a leading cause of mortality for children under 5. As part of the Measles and Rubella Initiative, the American Red Cross trains and mobilizes local volunteers to go door to door in target areas, collecting information about who's been vaccinated and who hasn't. This helps us to figure out where there's a need for immunizations, which are administered by our partner organizations. Mapping the target areas will help us to estimate local populations, plan our surveys, visualize results, and inform logistical planning for the vaccinations. This means that the data that you're creating today will directly help with the fight to eliminate measles and rubella. So let's get started. The best browser to use for mapping is Google Chrome. Safari will also work, but Internet Explorer sometimes has issues. If you haven't already done so, then please take a minute to go to openstreetmap.org and create yourself an account. You'll input your email address, a username, password, etc., and then you'll get an email in your inbox asking you to confirm. If you have already set this up, then you can just simply log in. Next, go to tasks.hotosm.org. This is a site where we keep track of the different mapping tasks we're working on. In the search box, look for AMMG, which is what we're using for this event. You'll see a number of tasks. You can click on one of these. This will pull up the area that we're working on, gridded into squares. The yellow squares have been completed. If there's any green ones, they've been completed and also double-checked or validated by a more experienced mapper. Squares that have a yellow ring around them are locked and someone's currently working on. And then anything blank is up for grabs. So you can just take one of these. It'll turn purple to show that you've selected it. Press Start Mapping, and it'll ask you which type of editor you'd like to use for this. Press Edit with ID Editor. The fuchsia box is your task area, and the point of this exercise is to map all of the buildings and also any roads you see that aren't already traced in. So to add a building, zoom in far enough until you can see it, and then press the area button at the top of your map. The shortcut for this is number 3 if you want to save some time. And then trace all of the corners of the building. Some of these will be just straightforward squares, and some like this might be a little more complicated. So that creates the area, and then we have to specify what exactly it is. So you type in building in the left side of your screen in the search box, click on building, and then click it just one more time. So that tells OSM that this is a building. Next, if you click on the edge of it, you'll see a different menu of options pop up. You can delete it, turn it into a circle, move it, square the corners, or rotate the object. Every time we draw a building, we want to square the corners. You can use the shortcut S to make that a little bit faster. And that's just because it's almost impossible to draw a right angle otherwise. That's it for buildings. Most of the roads in this area are already traced into OpenStreetMap, But if you did find one that wasn't already, what you would do is press line, and then you would start at the edge of an existing road to make sure that you're forming a network. Create an intersection point, and then just start tracing away. You want to have enough points so that you follow any natural curves in the road, but you certainly don't need one every foot. Again, double click to finish. And for this area, any primary roads are already in there, so whatever you're tracing in is going to be classified as a residential road. So that's it. I'm going to delete that since it wasn't a real road. When you finish mapping your area, or you've just done enough work that you don't want to lose your edits, press save. These hashtags will pop up, and this is just how we keep track of who's adding what into OSM and for what purpose. So you can press save again, and that will upload your changes to OpenStreetMap. That's it. So if you've finished your area, go back to the Tasking Manager tab, and you can either press Stop Mapping for if you haven't finished the area but you just need to stop, or Mark Task as Done if you've completed all the buildings. That's it. From all of us here at the American Red Cross and the rest of our Missing Maps partners, thank you so much for volunteering, and happy mapping.